G'day, it's Greg Newson here for NatroVital and welcome to today's video on digestion. So we're going to look at the digestive system and see how it works. Now the digestive system is made up of a whole heap of different organs, and those organs all work together in harmony to firstly absorb the nutrients from the food and keep us healthy. Okay, so where does it start? It starts in our mouth. So our teeth. Our teeth are the first thing that comes in contact with food. Well, maybe our tongue does, but in this case, we're going to just talk about the teeth. And the role of the teeth is to grind and break down the food, to denature the fibers of the food. And the more you chew, the more you break that food down. Now, the more broken the food is before it gets to the stomach or the rest of the digestive system, the easier it is for the digestive system to function more efficiently. So, the founder of Blackmores, Maurice Blackmore, he was a naturopath, and he used to tell his patients way back last century, way back when he was practicing, to chew your food 30 times. Now, I've tried that. It's not an easy thing to do. If you grab a handful of nuts and you chew them 30 times, it ends up like a paste, which is a great thing. It's like, think of peanut butter, smooth peanut butter. And then that makes it a lot easier for the digestive system to break that down. But generally when we eat nuts, if we admit we look in the we look in the poo and we go, oh, there's half an almond or there's half a macadamia. Guess what? Malabsorption. Okay, so chewing the food is really, really important. If you can chew your food 30 times, good on you. But you'll take about 4 hours to eat your meal. But you might get fuller quicker, or not eat as much. So from that, once we chew, the action of chewing the food stimulates the secretion of saliva from our salivary glands, which are below the tongue and on the sides. And the role of the saliva is, firstly, it moistens the food, so it then allows that food to travel down the esophagus quite easily. So it just slides down. If you've tried to chew something very quickly and it gets stuck because there's not enough lubrication, so it slides down and goes into the stomach. The other role of the saliva is that it contains an enzyme, a digestive enzyme called amylase, and the role of amylase is to break down carbohydrates. So that will be fruits and vegetables and flour products and sugar and certain legumes and pulses and beans, those sort of things. So it starts, that digestive process starts to denature that right away, okay? So it starts to break those bonds. And the more broken down the bonds are, the easier those nutrients are taken out of the food and absorbed into the bloodstream. The other role of saliva is to say to the stomach, hey mate, stomach, we've got some food coming down, you better start producing all of your stomach acids. And the primary one is hydrochloric acid. It also says to the pancreas, okay, just letting you know, we're chewing some food's coming down into the stomach, you guys better get ready and get ready with your digestive enzymes. And it says to the liver, we might have some fatty food here, just letting you know that we want to get the bile secretion happening. And so that goes into the small intestines. So once it comes into the stomach, the acid, as you imagine, if you get some pool acid, hydrochloric acid, pour it on your skin, it's going to burn, okay? So to prevent that from happening in the stomach has a big thick layer of mucus. So if you think of your stomach like that, big thick layer of mucus that surrounds, that protects the stomach from the acid. And the pH of the acid should be about 1.5. And what that does is it starts to break down or melt away the bonds that are joining all the food together, okay? So think of it this way, you've got a big wrecking ball and you've got an old building that needs to be wrecked, a wrecking ball on a crane. That wrecking ball comes along to that big solid wall and it goes poof, and well, it doesn't actually go poof, it goes bang. But anyway, it breaks that solid wall down to big chunks of brick. Well, that's what the stomach acid does to the food. So once it leaves the stomach, it's there for about 2 hours. Once it leaves the stomach, it goes into the small intestine. And as you can think, if you can imagine, all the stomach juices are going to go through it as well. So to prevent the body from having a duodenal ulcer, which is caused by the acid from the stomach coming into the small intestines, the pancreas secretes the digestive enzymes in a very alkaline fluid called bicarbonate. So sodium bicarb will neutralize an acid. So if you combine them both together, you've got a 1.5 pH of the acids, you've got a 9 or an 18, that's not right, 11 of your sodium bicarb, you put them together and you have a pH around 5, 6, 7. And that's what the stomach acid, that's what the bicarbonate does to the acid. It neutralizes it. But also in there's some digestive enzymes. There's amylase, there's more amylase to break down the carbohydrates. There's protease to break down protein, lipase to break down fat. So what happens there is that chunks of brick have come now into the small intestines, and those digestive enzymes will start to chew away at the chunks of brick and breaks it down to grains of sand. Now those grains of sand are then travel down through the small intestine. There's the duodenum, the ileum, the different parts of the small intestine. It's about 22 feet long. So it winds away down through there, and all these villi are flipping back and forth in the fluid, and the grains of sand, there's little holes in there, and the grains of sand travel down into those holes, and then that goes into the bloodstream. Once it's into the bloodstream, it goes to the liver. Now, the liver gets all of these nutrients, and some of them, for example, most people have heard of folate. Folate is actually, in its natural form, pretty useless to the body. It's the role of the liver to convert it to its active form, which is methotetrahydrofolate, MTHF. And that's the active form that the body can use. And it does that with B6, it does it with B1, B2, and all those sort of things. It also converts your essential amino acids to non-essential amino acids. So you'll be getting some non-essential amino acids in your food. You'll also get essential amino acids. If you don't get enough non-essential amino acids, your liver will break those essential amino acids down to non-essential amino acids. So once the liver's reformulated all of those nutrients, off it goes into the bloodstream, and it goes to the eyeball, the kidney, back to the liver, to the heart, to the kneecap, to the big toe, the hairs on the back of the neck. So they get nourished. Everything, every cell in your body gets nourished by what you eat and how well it's digested, okay? How well it's absorbed. So if we travel down back into the small intestines, if you've had a fatty food, so think of it this way, you've got fat, and some people can have fatty food and feel quite nauseous and queasy and not well. What happens is if you get a cup of water, you get a bit of olive oil, and you throw the olive oil on the top, it will sit. So the role of bile, which is secreted directly from the liver into the small intestines, the liver also puts some bile as a backup into the gallbladder, which becomes very concentrated. So the body doesn't need to release a lot into the digestive system, in the small intestine, to break down the fat. But what that bile does, it breaks that big layer of fat that's sitting on the water down to microscopic. If you think of a pin prick size, and you then divide that by 1,000,000, that's the size of the molecule, of the fat molecule, and that fat molecule is then absorbed through the villi into the bloodstream. So fat is very, very important. The right fat, I should say, is very, very important. And the bad fats are your hydrogenated fats, your vegetable oil fats, your vegetable shortening. I'm not going to say that saturated fat is bad, because if it was, coconuts and avocado would be the two things that you're not allowed to eat. Okay, because they're the first and second highest sources of saturated fats, but I digress. So fats get absorbed through the small intestine with the help of the liver, which is the major producer of the bile, and the gallbladder. The other role of bile is also the liver puts all of its toxins into bile, puts it into the small intestine, and out it goes out of the body. So it's very important that your liver is producing bile. We'll come to why that maybe in another video, definitely in another video, maybe not in this video, because I don't want to bombard you with too much information all in one video. So once it goes from the small intestines, pretty much all the nutrients absorbed, toxins have been put in there, and we're left with fibres. We're left with generally 3 types of fibres: insoluble fibre, and they're like a broom, brush out the colon, and things like wheat bran, rice bran, psyllium, they're insoluble fibres. And then you've got soluble fibres, which are a gel-like substance, and they bind to toxins, but also excess cholesterol and excess estrogens and that sort of stuff, and takes them out of the body. And they're things like apple pectin, citrus pectin, guar gum, those type of slimy sort of fibres. And then you have prebiotic fibres, and they are found generally in vegetables, and so onions and asparagus and garlic and leeks are good sources of, and cauliflower are good sources of prebiotic fibres. And those prebiotic fibres, through a process of when what we call commensal bacteria, they're neither good nor bad, they eat these prebiotic fibres and they poop things called short chain fatty acids, butyrate, etc., acetate, propionate, and they then feed all of the beneficial bacteria in the body, right? So you digress a little bit here, but you've got your acidophilus, makes up 0.6% of all the bacteria. So you buy a probiotic, it's got acidophilus and bifidobacterium, and they rev everybody up and they go, oh yeah, party time, let's all get healthy and good. But then they go out of the body, you know. So I think it's 3 weeks, or is it 6 weeks? I can't remember now. Anyway, for acidophilus to pass on through. But while it's there, it really helps the body. But all the rest of the guys, they only get their food from one food source, one food source only, and that's prebiotic fibres. So if you don't have any prebiotic fibres in your diet, i.e. fruits and vegetables and legumes and that sort of stuff, you're not helping them. And I will talk about them, actually I'll talk about them now. The beneficial bacteria is your microbiome, and your microbiome is 70% of your immune system, right? So 70% of your immune system lives here. If they're not healthy, you're not healthy, your immune system's not healthy. Allergies, autoimmune diseases, cancer, recurring infections, all stem from this here. Inflammation stems from here, okay? Any disease ending in itis, you've got inflammation, okay? Just different parts of the body, inflammation of the joints, arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis, rashes on the skin, psoriasis, itis, Hashimoto's disease, thyroiditis, thyroid, so on and so on. So I've lost my train of thought again, so I apologise about that. So I was going to say the part of the digestive system. So if we look at the digestive system, we've got the mouth, the teeth and the tongue and all that, the esophagus, the stomach, we go to the small intestine, the colon, we've got the liver, we've got the pancreas, the gallbladder, the colon, all of these things, and then we've got the microbiome, the guys that live within our intestines that keep us healthy. All of these things make up our digestive system. If one of them goes out, everything's going to go out, because they can't work in a harmonious and a symbiotic relationship. If the liver's not producing the bile, well, A, you're not going to get rid of the toxins, B, we're not going to break down the fat properly. If the stomach's not producing the stomach acid, everything downstream suffers, because we're not breaking the food down properly, so we can't get the nutrients out of it. Same with our teeth. If we don't chew our food, if we just do I've got a white bread roll with a bit of ham, cheese and tomato on it, 3 chews and it's down. We didn't get the saliva on there to start with, the amylase to break down the carbohydrate, the bad carbohydrate. And then it's just sitting here, and you kind of had that food and you got to go, I feel a bit bloated, I don't feel well. Anyway, I don't think I've finished with the colon yet. Going back to the colon, once all that fibres and toxins and all the liquid comes from the small intestine into the colon, the colon reabsorbs the water, the liquid, to keep the body hydrated. If it didn't, you'd be having diarrhea all the time. Okay. So, and then what that does, it still keeps the stool moist, and that stool then is able to travel down. Now, it travels via muscle contractions. It's a thing called peristalsis. So think of it this way: this muscle here contracts, pushes the feces along to this muscle, which contracts, pushes along. Okay. Now, what keeps peristalsis working well? There's certain fibres like psyllium and a whole heap of others, which I can't remember, but I can remember psyllium. Hydration, exercise. Exercise is really good. Muscle movement keeps everything moving. Okay, so if constipation, I'll come to conditions associated with stomach issues or small intestinal, colon, liver, etc. in another video, because that's a big topic. And then the poop goes out and everything's fine, and it should come out like a nice sausage or a right firm banana. If it looks like chocolate mousse or McDonald's soft serve ice cream, or it's explosive, or it's a bit loose, a bit solid, it's diarrhea, it's watery, you've got problems, right? Which we will discuss later. Talking about poo, what is the different coloured poos mean? Well, brown, dark brown, light brown, good stool, okay? You absorb the nutrients and everything's fine. If it is green, you've either been eating or drinking truckloads of spinach or very green vegetables, kale, that sort of stuff, and you say you're doing a juice fast and you've just got green coming out. But it also tells me that you're not absorbing the nutrients as effectively as you should, and green stools will indicate a very fast transit time, which means from the very fast means by the time you put it in here and by the time it comes out of there, the body hasn't had a chance to absorb all the nutrients. Malabsorption is going to happen very easily there. So that tells me the stomach acid, the digestive enzymes, all that sort of stuff not working well. If the stool is bright red, you've either been eating a lot of red foods, a lot of beetroot, or you've got hemorrhoids and you're bleeding, especially if it's bright red, or you've got the diverticular. So in the that's not the small intestine. That's the colon, in the sigmoid colon, in that, and the transverse, or the descending colon, I should say, you can get pockets. I'll talk about this later on. Called diverticulitis. If they bleed, they will also cause the red poo. If your poo's black, it could be because you're taking an iron supplement, that will cause black poo. But if you're not taking an iron supplement and your poo's black, go to the doctor's, red flag, okay? That can indicate occult blood, which means, or you may have been eating a lot of licorice, black licorice, so iron or black licorice. And if you're eating black licorice, it's just a week and stop it. Where was I going? Occult blood. So that can indicate bleeding in the upper gastrointestinal tract, which basically means your small intestine on your stomach. And that can be a polyp, it can be colon cancer, it can be cancer full stop, an ulcer or something along those lines. So you need to get that checked out. Important. If the stool is yellow, slimy, foul, that sort of stuff, that tells me that there's malabsorption of fat. So you know you're not getting enough bile produced, but you're not absorbing the fat effectively. If it's white, clay coloured, lightish grey, pale sort of colours, that tells me you're not producing enough bile, right? So there's either a blockage in the bile duct, or the liver's just overwhelmed and goes, I haven't got the energy to, produce enough bile, or the gallbladder's blocked because of gallstones or whatever. So they're the organs. I think I've covered them all. Sorry, I'm doing this here in my head. I think I've covered them all. Okay, so that's how the digestive system works. What I'll do in the next video is I'll focus on conditions like symptoms of poor functioning stomach, symptoms of poor functioning small intestine, colon, pancreas, liver, all that sort of stuff. And that's what I'll do next one. So hopefully it's given you a bit of information. If there's any questions, just let me know. Subscribe if this goes live, or it might be private, I don't know. Anyway, have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.